Tack så mycket. Mitt första fråga är det någon här som inte pratar engelska? Nej, bra. Then I'm going to speak English because it's way easier for me. Okay, so it's great to be here at Aguila Saria. This is my second time here. My first time as a speaker anywhere ever, so I'm not nervous at all. Silent estimation. This is something that I would love to take the credit for, but it wasn't me who invented it. We just found a video on it on YouTube, and we started working with it at NetEnt, and it's really, really working well for us. So hopefully you'll love it too. So who's ever done this? Planning poker. You spend lots of time sat around a table with a bunch of cards and arguing over whether this is a 3 or a 5 or a 50 or whatever. Or maybe you use t-shirt sizes or even hours. And you spend a hell of a lot of time estimating. And then at the end of your sprint, your board looks like this. There's a whole lot of stuff that's done. There's some stuff that's nearly done, but not quite. And then there's a bunch of stuff that you didn't even get started on. Please tell me I'm not the only one who looks like that. So, before we get started, a little bit about me. I'm a husband to Åsa, father to Carl. I'm a cyclist. I wish I was a millionaire and this was my car. And I'm also a Sith Lord. This is actually me, unfortunately. But for the purposes of today, I'm an agile coach at NetEnt. So, how can silence help you estimate better? Well, in every team, you've got a loudmouth. Normally in our team, it's me. Somebody who cannot shut up. Every time there's a question, it's that guy who answers it. Or if there's something to argue about, it's that guy who argues. And it means a lot of the time, the quieter people don't really get to have a chance to say something. So maybe if we get everybody to shut up a little bit, we'll get a bit further. So how does it actually work then? Well, let's take a team, quite a small team in this case, just 3 people. And this is their backlog, and it's completely unestimated. So the team look at the backlog together, and they pick a story that's somewhere in the middle, okay? And they put it up on 8 points. And that's what they're going to work on for everything else. That's going to be their comparison point. So Alan, our artist, he comes forward, he takes a story that he knows something about. And he says, yeah, this story, it's somewhere around about half the size of the one that we've already estimated. A little bit more, so I'll put it at 5. David, the developer, he has a question. This is where the silence comes in. He is not allowed to ask his question yet. He has to just accept what Alan has said. Alan jumps to the back of the queue, and David comes along. He takes a story that he knows about, and he says, yeah, this one's a bit bigger, actually. It's 2 or maybe 3 times the size, so I'll put it at 20. And he goes back to his place. Tina comes along, she takes a story she knows about, and puts it where she thinks it should go. And so on, and so on, and so on, until eventually, everything's estimated. We're done, we can all go home, right? Well, what about this one that David had a question about? He comes up and he says, actually, this story here, when you estimated it, you didn't think about that we need to make a database change, or that we've got a new tool that we're going to use, or that somebody's got holidays, or whatever. So actually, it's quite a bit bigger than you thought it was, so I'd like to put it at a 20. Okay, he goes back to his place. Alan, though, he's a clever guy, and he says, actually, do you know what? I did think about all those things. I knew about the database upgrade and the new change and the new tool and the fact that you're going on holiday. So it isn't actually as big as you thought it was, but maybe it is a little bit bigger than I thought about. So how about an 8? And the team agree on that. And they move the rest of the stories around until eventually everybody's happy. And then their estimation is done. So what are the advantages of this? Well, there's 3 things. The first one, everybody gets a chance to speak, even the really quiet people. Second of all your different competencies are included. So if, for example, you have a developer who's a really loud guy and he said, oh, for development, this is only 1 point. And a really quiet artist, yeah, but actually for art it's really hard, it's 40 points. They maybe didn't get their chance. Now they will get their chance to actually get their opinion put forward. And it's fast, really fast. We estimate our sprint normally in less than half an hour. And the more you do it and the more stable your team is, the faster it gets. I mean, there's people who've been doing this for quite a while at our company now who are just ridiculously fast. I really don't like the title of this one. I realize really these aren't disadvantages, but just things that we thought about more. The reference story that we talked about first, that 8-pointer, is vital. If it's wrong, everything else is going to be compared to something that's wrong, and you are, technically speaking, screwed. The other thing was that one reference story is really good. One reference story for each of the different sizes is even better if you can find it. Okay, that means that people don't actually need to go, it's roughly half the size of that, but maybe not. They can do, yeah, it's the same as this one, and this one's the same as this one, and so on. So what have we learned? Well, first thing that we learned, what if two people just don't agree? This is a 5, no, it's a 40, no, it's a 5, no, it's a 40, no, it's a 5, no, it's a 40. And eventually what we do is, okay, we'll just park it, and we'll discuss it later. If we can't come to an agreement, then we take the higher estimate every time, because we would rather overestimate something and do it faster than underestimate it and wreck our sprint. Secondly, how do we pick that reference story? Well, honestly, the only way to do that is to just experiment. Try and try and try until you eventually find one that ends up somewhere in the middle. There is no magic formula for doing it. If story equals this, then you're done. It's impossible. You just have to try it. And finally, you don't actually need the whole team. All you need is one person from each competence. So whenever you get the teams who are saying, I don't want to go to yet another meeting, you don't need to book them all. It's 3 or 4 people instead. The rest of them can keep going on with their other work. We don't really have time for questions, I'm afraid, but if you do have any questions, I'm here all day and I'm here tomorrow, so just grab me anytime. But to summarize, this is fast, it's more accurate, and it's more inclusive. Everybody, as I said, gets their say, which I think is really important. And if there's just one thing you have to remember about it, it's that reference story. Spend more time on the reference story than anything else, because once you've set that, the rest is really easy. Thanks very much.